Thank you, and welcome to Cats and Dogs here on Press TV with me, Lembit Opik. And first I want to talk about a friend of the show who's recently left his job, a man who virtually wrote our show for us. Yes, our best scriptwriter has lost his job and was also evicted from his state-owned accommodation, namely the White House. After the media circus of Donald Trump's goodbye party, we at Cats and Dogs weren't celebrating. In fact, we were in mourning because we feared we'd never get a better source of satire than Desperate Don. We've had to face the fact Trump is gone. Adios, amigo. But then we realised something inspiring, that when it comes to political satire, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And in that sense, there is no one more beautiful than Myanmar's top Democrat, who seems to have won a Nobel Prize for Peace for waging war against her own people. After just 5 years of experiencing something like democracy, Myanmar has now been restored to what you might call its original factory settings, thanks to a military coup d'etat, which resulted in the detention of its leading lady, Ms. Aung San Suu Kyi. When she began as state councillor of Myanmar, Suu Kyi said, "I will do two things, increasing national unity and reducing the role of the army in the country." She did do both, but got them mixed up. She increased the role of the army and reduced national unity. Doing the exact opposite of what you promised takes the kind of panache usually only found in Brussels, Westminster and Capitol Hill. So she has learned something from Western democracy. Yes, Suu Kyi was in charge as the Rohingya Muslims faced a crackdown and opposition parties faced a shutdown. And here's the irony. The only reason all this stalled is because the army stepped in to stop it. The same army she took over from to end things like, well, crackdowns on Muslims and shutdowns of politicians. I don't mean to be rude here, but to just do the exact opposite of what you got appointed to stop reveals a certain lack of creativity. If the army hadn't stepped in again, where would this have led? Invading other countries? Kicking off World War III? I mean, why not go all the way and start building her own wall down in Mexico? In a weird way, what the army has done in a mixed-up sort of Myanmar democratic fashion is not a coup, but a democratic revolution for the promotion of peace and national unity. Predictably enough, Suu Kyi has called on people to take to the streets in her support. And this led to some surprising allies, like Mr. Batman and Mr. Spider-Man, who both answered her call. Apparently the Invisible Man was there too, but it's hard to tell. Over the past decades, Myanmar has been so stifling, politically I mean, that people have turned demonstrating into a kind of national celebration. Apparently the police set a new high watermark for the Guinness Book of Records in Myanmar's second largest city, Mandalay, by arresting 10% of the protesters. That's right, 10%. Can you believe it? OK, the protest was just 30 people big, and the police arrested 3 of them. And 2 of them were superheroes, which was 7%, and I suspect the other 3% was the Invisible Man. So there's your 10%. Poor old Suu Kyi, having to depend on old-fashioned superheroes, not even the X-Men, to help her when she needed it. Just because she, well, didn't do exactly what she said she stood for, like basically none of it at all. To cut the long story short, Suu Kyi is the story of a woman once seen as a beacon of human rights who gave up her own freedom to challenge the rule of ruthless army generals in Myanmar. She was awarded that Nobel Peace Prize while still under house arrest, so her son picked up the prize on her behalf. Then, when she got released, she sort of proved that just maybe when she was going on about freedom and tolerance, how can I put this gently, she was actually having a bit of a laugh. Can I suggest that now she's under house arrest again, her son might want to pop over to Stockholm and give that Nobel Peace Prize back with a note saying, "My mum says she was only joking, thanks. But she wants to know if she can keep the money because she's under house arrest again and she has to pay cash for the takeaways." On the other hand, maybe Suu Kyi is ambitious for more awards, like the Trump Award for stirring up trouble and the Biden Award for rambling. Meanwhile, my advice to the Swedish Academy is, guys, think it through before you hand out all these awards. If Trump shares his presidential memoirs, read them through before you nominate him for the Nobel Prize for Literature. Otherwise, you're just asking for trouble.
World's #1 terrorist leader to justice. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is dead. The United States has been searching for Baghdadi for many years. Capturing or killing Baghdadi has been the top national security priority of my administration.
So why does the Nobel Peace Prize get given to some strange candidates? It's been suggested the idea is to use the prize to try to get people to behave better by giving them the award in advance. So it's like an incentive. Mr. Obama received the Nobel Prize just after he was elected as US president. It sort of worked. He was so motivated to promote peace in Somalia and Libya, he sent in troops and weapons almost straight away. And then got busy inspiring that famous Middle East peacekeeping force, also known as Daesh. Good job there, Mr. Obama and the Academy. Believe it or not, Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini were both nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize too. No, it's true. And Stalin was nominated twice for the Nobel Peace Prize. It must have been frustrating considering how hard those three worked to be history's bad boys. Imagine the conversation between them. Hey, Adolfo, have you been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize yet? Yeah, Benito. Same here. What about you, Joe? Duh. It's just so embarrassing. It must have made them feel like giving up on the whole world domination thing altogether. Let's get some answers with this Nobel Peace Prize thing. In another world exclusive for Cats and Dogs, on the line we have a Swedish chemist, engineer, inventor, businessman and philanthropist whose most famous invention was dynamite. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the man himself from beyond the grave. It's Alfred Nobel. Mr. Nobel, welcome to Cats and Dogs.
This is spooky.
You said it, Alf. So, how did the man who invented high explosives for war end up inventing this high award for peace?
I felt bad about the dynamite.
In what way?
When people started using my invention to blow each other up, I thought the Peace Prize might act as an ingenious distraction.
But your wish was to give awards to those who, during the preceding year, shall have conferred the greatest benefit to mankind. So, what do you think of the Peace Prize nominees?
Well, it's embarrassing, isn't it?
How so?
Well, the Academy means to think war and peace go together, like, for instance, bread and butter, or, as we say in Sweden, pickled herring and potato salad.
I hardly think the hell of war is like pickled herring.
Have you ever tried pickled herring? I mean the one with vinegar and no sugar.
Well, yes, actually I have.
Then you know. That creates a little battle in your guts.
What about the nominations of Hitler, Mussolini and Stalin?
I know. I think the fortune I made from dynamite set a kind of bad example. make bombs, win a peace prize.
How do you get them to give it to good people?
I wanted Gandhi to win it, but he was assassinated, which was disappointing.
Some say Mr. Biden should get the Nobel Prize in Literature for his new way of speaking. and Mr. Bin Salman for sword dancing?
Wait a second. We don't have a Nobel Prize for sword dancing, do we?
Well, what if the Saudis made a petrodollar donation to the Academy?
Can I get back to you about that? I suppose it would take him out of the Peace Prize shortlist. And let's face it, that's a crowded field.
Thanks very much, Mr. Nobel.
You're welcome. And sorry about the dynamite.
Goodbye. Now it's time to see who's good, who's bad, and who's ugly this week. The good this week is Kyle Kulinski, host and producer of The Kyle Kulinski Show, who had the courage to say the US withdrawal from the Iran nuclear deal shows just how unreliable they are. By showing some moral courage, Kyle's certainly written himself out of the script for a Nobel Prize. The bad this week is Joe Biden, who said on camera that he'd return to the Iran nuclear deal. But now he's backtracking on that promise. In fact, he's gone even further, urging Iran to come back to the deal itself. Has Joe ever actually watched the news? Has nobody told him Trump's America left the deal, not Iran? With a bit of luck, he'll forget he even said it. And this week's ugly is the Myanmar army. Days after their coup, they suppressed anti-coup demonstrations, which called for the reinstatement of the woman who was doing what the army wanted to do anyway. And let's face it, even the Academy can't afford to give everyone in the Myanmar army a Nobel Prize for peace. Let's just keep it to one woman, shall we? That's it for this week. Join me next time to see who's reading Trump's biography, who's still under house arrest awaiting the Nobel Prize for self-contradiction, and whether anyone else will take on the Saudis at sword dancing. This is Press TV. I'm Len Topic, and that was Cats and Dogs.